Welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord to play Dungeons and Dragons. And
we play Dungeons and Dragons!
Or that.
Sorry.
Or that. Yeah, okay. Is that like 10 seconds before I'm regretting this already? For those of you who might or might not have noticed, meet Nyx. They're new to this campaign. They're the babby of the group, and for the most part, they're really awesome with the RP.
Probably the babby relative to real life anyway, so it's perfect.
Although technically, given the race you're playing, you're probably one of the older.
Oh, almost assuredly.
But point being that, yes, we have a new player, and if this kind of distraction is going to happen at the start of every game, we might have to start thinking about tacking on some extra minutes, which is going to be fun for those of us who live where it's like 10 or 11 at night.
It's not, I just wanted to get the one out. That is my one.
That's what they all say.
I've said that. It sometimes has become a recurrence.
Sometimes?
A lot of the time. It depends on the thing.
It's you or it's Ethan, 9 times out of 10. Anyway, the Cupcake Coterie, as they currently stand, are in Demille. They've stayed overnight at the gubernatorial palace of Elvenwild, the governor of the place, getting on to Silver Archdragon now, if Fizzbands is anything to go by. And, they're looking at going into the Silver Vault. Those who have made their first trek across the wastes and, done the task that was asked of them en route, will have to select which wing of the Silver Vault they want to get involved in. But the first place they are going to be taken to, after they've sat down to a much requested breakfast, in point of fact, is the Antechamber of Stars, which is where the entire thing begins. Which is basically where we pick up with y'all. Your shared space has... You come out when there's knock on your door, but there's nobody on the other side of it when you open the door. Magic is a thing. And sitting on the table in your little ice hotel kind of foyer lounge thing is a breakfast of frostberry pancakes with multiple kinds of syrup, up to and including the frostberry that has been so heavily requested. Rather large basket of donuts, bacon, coffee. It's the betrayal coffee.
I mean, Barnabas digs in.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of assuming everybody does. Just
Food do, because I'm gonna probably be burning a lot of energy if I go out and ask a certain pack person relating to Alice about axe combat.
Yes, well, we'll have to do that in the evening, because if we're going to be doing the Silver Vault, we don't have that much time. Remember, we have the people to the west of us to kind of like deal with, and we really need to get started on that. Anyway, I can teach you some things. Yeah, I carried that axe for nearly a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Doi. Flick. Right in the forehead where the where the mark is. Poink.
I'm going to prestidigitate sparkles in the air around myself where that happens, and then blip them out once the
Okay. It just goes back to
Second has gone by or so.
yeah. Once breakfast has more or less been finished and you're lingering over last cups of coffee or last donut or both, there is a knock at the door and it opens and one of the silver dragonborn pages leans in and says, I know that most of your morning will be taken up at the Silver Vault, and I'm here to direct you there. But as far as your lunch is concerned, I understand that Master Stumplefink had a question to ask Governor Aled about something to do with something of yours, whether it's been used. You will remember Governor Aled says that she understands that you would probably very much prefer to keep that knowledge either way to yourself, but she does not hold with that sort of thing, so you will have to bring a witness. She recommends your former comrade in arms. If you're finished with your breakfast, if you'd like to come with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you and your and whoever you choose to go with you will join Governor Aled for lunch. And assuming everybody is getting up and going,
Yep.
leads down sort of through the castle and out a side door, so it's very briefly back into the firs, just woof, yeah, because it gets cold out there. I mean, particularly here because you're very high up a mountain. And it leads you to this apparently tiny little cylindrical building that looks little more than a hut. A very heavy silver-plated door. The page puts a hand on it. And the door opens. And walks inside. All you can see on the other side is pitch black.
Following?
Yeah, everybody who's following. There's a moment where even those of you with dark vision cannot see a thing. But it's maybe 2 steps at most. When the darkness fades, it doesn't fade very much. It's dimly lit, but more lit than you'd expect, given the room. It's cavernous. It is massive. And you're not 100% sure there's a ceiling. Because what you have is a planetarium style. You can see all of the constellations and the pure light from all of these stars. Also beneath your feet, by the way. It's looked like looking at the night sky. And because it's relatively contained compared to the outside, although not by much. It's moderately bright. Way away from you. What you would assume might be the middle of the room, but that's a long way off. That's getting on to quarter mile. There's a brighter patch, and while you can't really see much in it immediately, you know that there's something that's bound to be there. The page looks at you all and says, at the center of the room, there is the constellation controls the Scroll of Heroes. And the method by which you will choose what... it's a guide to the vault. When you put your hand on a plate, it will lock in your ability to go to that wing. If you touch that one before you touch... If you touch one before you touch the one you actually want, you're stuck with the choice, I'm afraid.
Good to know.
But once you've made that selection, it will know how many you're allowed. So if you're going to poke at things, first of all, please don't. And second of all, make sure that you do so only after you've set your selection. Good fortune to you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
exits.
Well, time to get started, I suppose.
Yeah, we've got a... Yeah, I'd say I should have warned you about this, but it wouldn't have changed anything.
I mean, it makes sense.
Besides, it's worth it for the looks on your faces.
Especially
Also accurate.
I
Come
mean, it
on.
made sense being, stars and all, but still, wow.
Yeah, come on. Meanwhile, in the center of this cavernous room, about a quarter of a mile from these ones, they're still far enough away that you can't hear them, and seeing them, you're not looking in the right direction anyway. You, sir, are looking through the scroll of heroes and murmuring the name of the particular heroes that you're looking for, and what you get on the scroll after a list of various deeds, and in the current location category, turn around.
Turn. Oh, god damn it, did I lap them again?
And when you do turn around, by that point, you're starting to hear various snippets of conversation and seeing a fairly faint glow, just because Alice's wings and hair, when she's not tamping it down, are kind of slightly luminescent.
Holy shit, they're here. Holy shit, they're here. Calm down, take a breath. You know why you need them.
Yeah, as you
Just
guys...
don't freak out.
Okay, passive perception, I believe the highest is Froseth.
18.
Yeah, so he's going to be the first one to see that there's somebody at the three small, by comparison to the room, sort of daises in the center of the space. Individual, you can't see details right off the bat, particularly since you don't have dark vision, but you know body language, and he looks, well, he, she, they, you really can't tell at this distance, looks tense.
Come on. Think. Words. How best to words correctly?
Oh, Christ, we have another Smeagol.
Just what I was thinking.
Is Froseth going to warn of any
Yeah,
of this?
yeah. It's just like look for a moment. I think we have someone over there looking like they want to approach us.
Maybe? What? Who did what?
Point.
Squint. Oh, no, because, I mean, to be fair, Alice's got dark vision, so it really is just, oh, yeah. What is it with nervy wood elves? I really want to know. Come on.
Wood elves, thankfully, but still, elves?
Hazel.
Come on, Hazel. You know what? Screw it. Given her flying speed is faster than her walking speed. At which point, you recognize most of the description, but the wings are new. Yep.
Oh. Okay. Wings. Expected.
Wedding present. Who are you?
Hi. Doesn't matter. I'm looking for you all.
In which case, it kind of does.
Sorry. Hi. Call me Rylan. I
Hi.
Hi.
I need you guys' help, and like really badly.
Deep breath. Okay. We're kind of used to this. We have some agitated individuals.
There was a massacre in the Elvenwild.
Oh.
Oh.
Where in the Elvenwild?
Recently, you
Um.
guys just apparently passed through. There was an attack on the High Elves.
Yeah, we went through that, and those scouts were gonna look into it, but we had.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Okay. I mean, we were gonna be doing some research in conjunction with that, but this is not the place to have that conversation. You look
Get
like
me to them, please.
you look like you need a drink. You
Probably. Yeah.
You look like you're 2 drinks below the average just by your very nature, so that's probably a good call. Tell you what, we all have a piece of the Silver Vault, a wing of the Silver Vault to unlock. We'll do that, then we'll take you out, get you an ale, let you breathe, and then you can tell us exactly what is going on.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
while you're
It was
looking
easier
at
than I thought. Okay.
while you're looking at that, you'll notice a couple of other changes. You know from Froseth, Ava, Darvin, Remy, Hazel, and Alice.
Holy shit.
The Tiefling is new. The Minotaur that looks intelligent is also new because you don't get those here.
You know what? I'm gonna save the questions for when I have function in my brain.
Yeah.
Okay. let's-
Probably also good to save the questions for when we can all do the introductions thing, although it looks like you don't need them from most of us.
No, I don't.
We'll give his description, by the way, when you're out of a dimly lit area, because even the people with dark vision are going to have issues with some of it. Mostly what you're looking at, you're looking at a full elf, that's about it.
Blurry.
Blurry elf.
Yeah, so, okay.
Blurry, frazzled elf.
Yeah, so, over here.
To be specific.
She shows you to a dais, which is mostly... And it's moderately large. Again, not for the space, but moderately large, about the size of the average sofa. And little plaques, each with writing on them, talking about different parts of the Silver Vault. There are a fair few of these on this. Do any of you remember what you all were looking for?
I noted it down.
My head, unfortunately, and having a brain fuzz moment.
Well, given that we've got some conversational stuff to do, I am going to assume that those of you who had a decision on where you were going, because as I recall, it was legends and bits and pieces like that for Darvin. Remy and Barnabas were gonna go the tactics and old battle tales route. Hazel and Froseth were going more the religious end of things. Clarity was very much going for the straight up magic, although there's not really an option that says straight up magic. There's lots of different subclasses of magic. And in all honesty, you're not entirely sure which one of them applies more right now. So yours might want to wait until you've heard a few more of the stories.
So we were going to look up things on Tiamat and the
Yeah,
black stuff.
Yeah, the Tiamat falls under the religious bit. The black stuff the black stuff comes in under the... We will get to that. We know there were issues with that, mostly because drow. I think we have a lot of stuff to share. We just really need to get this sorted first. Some of us have focus issues. I'm really sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I get it.
Hey,
that
look,
alone.
you found us. That's progress. So
Seriously, yes.
Which point Alice A. rummages around in a belt pouch and holds up one of the cranberry apple sweet globes that she'd given for Hazel. Here, and hands it to Rylan. It's a
That
candy.
goes in your mouth.
it's comforting. Trust me.
Yeah, it tastes like cranberry apple tea. It's a boiled sugar thing, so it's a sucking candy. And also out of the same pouch comes a fairy dragon, which flies circle around your head and then pops on top of it. Yep. And then in Sylvan, you're an elf, so maybe you can talk to me.
You're a fairy dragon. I'm
Yeah.
saying in Sylvan back.
Yeah, and you're an elf. You're a wood elf. Hello. I'm Flitty.
Hi.
Flitty is the
Hello.
ultimate calming influence. This also in Sylvan, though a bit grouchy.
I'm just gonna sit and hug your head.
All right then, I guess.
Just put up whatever hood or whatever you have when we go back out there, because otherwise, poor little schmuck's gonna freeze.
I think that's everybody. Ava, what
We were Alice and I were looking more into history and lore and how information about specifically about dragons. I think something along those lines.
We kind of scrapped that because we know about the dragons from Hazel's book.
Right.
I think we could do a more, and I was actually stepping aside to see whoever else needed help. What
Right.
you were gonna do was look at the more historical treatises that weren't actual battle plans.
right, or that weren't more
Barty.
story-esque. Yeah, Barty, for lack of a way to put it. Yes.
Yeah, so, unfortunately, history is divided up by continent. So I don't know if you'd want to go for here, because I don't know if the Black Sludge was a problem here before, or if you want to go for the Southern Lands, because that's where it's been. Maybe you should hold off until, Darvin and Ree and Barnabas figure out whether, through stories and battle primers, whether it's made it here, so we at least know what continent to focus on. At least religion, you can just ask for a god.
Okay.
Yep. We'll myself and Proseth will probably have the data the quickest, probably.
Yeah, but that's on Tiamat. We can't necessarily say for sure that there's going to be any connection with the Black Sludge, which is where our all over the place really is.
Mm-hmm. And that's where
Chained
Barnabas and
they you two also have the Chained Oblivion
the
to
battle tactics
look
stuff
into.
comes in.
Yeah, we'll get there, but okay, Barty stuff, religious stuff, battle primers, go, and the rest of us will narrow as we figure out more stuff. But from the sounds of Rylan here, by the way, Froseth, Ava, Darvin, Remy, I call her Ree, never do it, Clarity, Barnabas, Hazel Hearthheart. Barnabas is not from around here. Stop giving him that look.
I wasn't
used to
giving him the...
Yeah, but you're my Reed. That nobody gives you that look.
All right.
Touche.
Yeah, trust me, the more you stare, the more likely you are to get bonked. So just
Oh no, I wouldn't bonk. That you have a perfect frame for yeeting.
that would also potentially happen.
Yeah.
All I
By
say
the way,
is put
this
it down.
thankfully isn't the Cobalt definition of yeet, so just yeah.
All right then.
Never mind, Hazel. She's like you, but more cheerful with it.
I flail in delight.
She flails all the time, but mostly it's delight.
Oh, good heavens. Okay.
Anyway, as everybody who's going to pick a thing picked a thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Let's go, and I know a tavern. I know all the taverns. But I know a good one for us. Let's go. And the usher, she basically ushers you all back out into the sunlight. And yeah, Flitty kind of tucks himself into Ryland's collar. Just
I just, like, make room in the scarf.
yeah. Thank you. I'm going to sit here and hug your neck.
You went from my head to my neck. Will you keep going lower?
Oh dear God!
That was
Isn't that
unintentional.
Hear that.
Probably not, no. All the rest of you is either too big to hug or inappropriate.
Fair enough.
Besides, your scarf is comfy and warm. I don't want to
Darvish.
freeze.
No one
Darvish
wants
is
to freeze.
listen, quietly shaking because he's chuckling, just and slightly turning colors, but keeping moving. Just
Yeah, but yeah, as you're out in now that you're out in the light, you get a good look at the individual who is named Rylan. So Rylan, by all means, describe yourself.
So, Rylan, if you could imagine a wood elf in the outfit of an upside-down tree in the middle of fall. Dark brown, short-kempt hair, hazel eyes, orange and yellow all the way from the shoulders down, scarf included.
Except you will be wearing white furs over top of that because it's the only way you don't take
Well, yeah.
cold damage up here. Just reminding.
White fur to not be freezing to death. A clinkly little carnelian bracelet on their left wrist. A oddly soft smile, given the circumstances, kept on their face. Still kinda shell-shocked that somehow I lapped you fuckers again. Yes, again.
Well, in all fairness, you did come straight here, and they went very much the long way around.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wedding, and
I bet it was a fun wedding.
there were moments, and then there were wings erupting out of my back. It was a thing. Plus, it was
Yeah,
all
sounds like a normal wedding to me.
okay.
Not even gonna ask.
Nah.
Anyways,
I don't think you want to know.
Yeah, as Alice leads through the various bits of shopping district and opens a door onto what actually looks like a more Baronsvere-ish tavern. They've actually brought in some, wood for the walls and the table and the tables and that kind of thing. This is clearly a place to make newcomers from elsewhere feel at home. But they've got it, right down to the chalkboard menu, and there's a few people, merchants for the most part, not very many this time of day, drinking breakfast beer and looking at the new arrivals because they're a motley fucking bunch. From the lady with the wings to the sapient minotaur to Big Green Bow. All the rest of it. Funnily enough, Silver Dragonborn doesn't get looks here. You have never seen so many Silver Dragonborn in one place. Just in general in the city, and in here there's there don't seem to be any in here, but Demille just has a lot of Silver Dragonborn. Although it probably does occur to Furseth when he's looking at that these are basically the last ones left apart from you. So, there's a table large enough for a group your size, and Alice is like, I'm gonna go get us some drinks. Do not start without me. Does anyone have a preference, or do you just want me to pick for you?
I'll trust your judgment.
Yeah, or just ale. It was fine.
Well, yeah, but there are different types, you know.
Well,
Surprise you.
yes. Well,
Same
just
applies here. Surprise me.
yes, but in a different context, because no, surprise me without shenanigans.
I'm not surprising anybody with shenanigans when we have panicky individual over here.
We
Less
do need our
panicky,
heads
more nervous and
mostly on our
confused.
shoulders.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, both of you were talking at the same. And I'll say it's just like both of you were talking at the same. I don't care. I'm going to go get drinks. Pat, 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 pat.
Gesturing at the elf.
Hi. Yeah, I want to wait for the other lady because she said not to start without her.
Good
I don't.
idea.
Yeah, that's probably best.
Yep. And Darvin, what I was saying to you was we do want to keep our heads mostly on our shoulders, and Alice has enough common sense to be sort of ahead of even the wisest of us, Froseth, on that.
I don't know. You're pretty up there. When you want to be.
Froseth still outdoes me on a regular basis. I'm just going to freely admit that and leave it there.
LSA comes back, one arm, one hand balancing a tray with a lot of ale tankard on it. Although in this case, it's warm mulled frostberry cider. It is largely for Hazel, but I think you'll like it. Plunks the mug in front of Hazel. Do not guzzle that.
That sounds lovely.
And just
I'm going to take my time
Looks lovely.
considering the flavor.
Hazel, when she gets a flavor in her, and it's one she likes, it sticks. Frostberries and pomegranates, it's a thing.
Yep. And cranberries.
And cranberries.
And blue-haired tieflings.
Smooch.
I'm not gonna say it.
Couldn't resist.
Yeah, but thankfully for you, I can. You go very interesting colors when you blush, but I'm gonna leave that aside because we do have actual business. Yeah, Rylan, it's nice to meet you. We're a little
Hi.
off that. Okay, so let me make sure I understand this.
Huh?
Well, I'll tell you where we are, and then you can tell us what you found out after we left.
Okay.
Because my understanding was we told them to, without risking themselves too much, get a message to the ancient green dragon who's been squatting in Elvenwild territory for I don't even know how long. And I don't know if they did that or not because we haven't actually seen the green. We saw somebody else, which was not pleasant. So either that individual was sent to fuck with us or the message just didn't turn up. But it must have done because otherwise they wouldn't have known we were there. Anyway, we rode through the palace grounds a little after sunset, and we did see an awful lot of what looked like, well, the aftermath of fighting. We heard there was fighting going on inside, but we had other stuff that we needed to be dealing with, such as the lot of heroism. So we didn't investigate, we just went straight through. I understand that the scouts that led us were supposed to be looking for some of the few people that Hazel actually knew and liked, and just generally get the ones that weren't being horrible, traitorous assholes out of the bad situation. But we don't know if that happened because we had among other things, an ancient blue dragon to stick in a goldfish bowl.
Ah,
By goldfish bowl, we mean extraordinarily powerful sorcery that we only had one instance of.
I was
sorry.
gonna go there, but I kind of wanted to go to the reason that this individual went this far northeast. Because that's a trip, even if you have got magic.
It's a trip. Okay, so let me catch you all up now on after you left. 2 scout parties went out that you called for. One went to the edge of the territory of the dragon, got the message across, made sure none of them got messed with. The other group, after they took you out.
Okay.
What was that?
No, it's I'd been trying to figure out whether they were the ones that went with us, and you answered my question. It's cool.
The other group that helped get you out went to rescue a couple of the staff. It was a mess of bodies. After you had all gone their way, they tried to get through it all without getting hit with that weird black whatever the hell it is.
Okay. Where was the black coming from?
I don't entirely know. It's like there's a couple of different things involved, including Green Dragon having offspring that got messed with, and a half-dragon woman somewhere in the league with
She
chromatic
came
dragon.
back?
Oh, you know her.
She dragged me to the fucking Shadowfell! I kicked her in the face! I didn't know she'd come back!
Yeah, we got into a couple of fights with her, the last of which was mostly Alice's, and that fight left her somewhere in the depths of the Shadowfell.
Okay, great. So in that case, we have a bigger problem on our hands. Because if she's in league with chromatic dragons basically sitting on the top of the fucking Baronsphere,
she's...
armies in the palace.
Yeah, here's something that might help clarify that one. The half dragon woman is actually the daughter of the king of Baronsphere, who himself is an ancient black dragon.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah.
Had a dragon squatters problem. We're trying to evict them.
We're working on it.
One dragon at a time.
One dragon at a time. Right.
Except black sludge in the Elvenwild is a thing, and you saying
that's...
dragon offspring? What? Because out of character, I don't know where you got green from for that particular bit of army.
You hang on. I'm reading.
Let me double check what I actually wrote.
Ancient Green got more forceful after the death of Offspring.
Yeah, but that was before that. These guys killed her son, so she got pissed off and took over the palace, which is where the group that got them before any of this mess happened. So the green dragon getting more forceful was before any of what you're talking about actually happened.
That is my mistake for misinterpreting.
What you did get was new arrivals. Yeah, you want the first, second, third paragraph.
So this blob here beyond this.
Yeah, basically, you got as far as explaining that, yeah, it was a fight between the Crown's Guard, the Baron's Veer Guard, and some of the High Elf Guard who were trying to fight back against the treachery.
Yeah.
And
And
the Black Dragon leader woman. So you want the bit that was you want the fact that the Black half dragon woman brought new people.
They had allies. A little. They were kind of like Dragonborn apparently, but something was like tainted almost by that black ooze, and apparently the breath was like poisonous and cold. And the
Alice is
scales
looking at Froseth at this point.
That actually kind of made me freeze a little bit when I saw you, because their scales were the color of tarnished silver.
Oh, that's a bad sign.
But it's like all of the high elves and like I think maybe a quarter of the Crown's Guard turned on them. And a few of them died, sure, but they exploded when they died. And some of the people got hit with the black splattery after effects.
Oh,
and
shit.
Oh.
Yeah, we kind of know what happens next.
Yeah.
That stuff is infectious.
only about the scouts who went through. I think about a dozen of the whole staff ended up getting out. They were mostly half-elves. I only ever got like 2 names from the scouts. Doric and Tisha? I can never remember pronunciation sometimes.
Tisha. Darvin mentioned her a couple of times.
Most of the others seemed too shocked to even give proper names. They had almost made it off the grounds and got ambushed by 2 of the dragon whatevers. Both of them were killed, but 9 were lost. Half of the planned saviors and 3 of the 5 scouts who were on that mission. They've been put out of their misery, so we don't have to worry about them too much.
Hold on. Just to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
I a little turned around with your choice of wording. Quick out of character, quick refresher on names. Doric
was your old.
Doric dead?
I think he was one of the ones that actually got out from the sounds of things.
Okay. He was.
Remember, you asked them specifically to look for him, so
I know.
if he died, they would have said something to our new friend here. So I have a couple of questions. So you're saying Dragonborn-ish looking things, but with different, with cold as well as otherwise harmful, yeah, and silver when it tarnishes goes black in places, doesn't it? Yes, out of character, yes.
Yes, I believe that sounds right. I don't work with metals too much, but
Well, no, we've seen your home. I remember the look that they got when we mentioned that some places do showers out of metal. Okay, well,
and it's only gotten worse even since the attack.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
my colony is basically surrounded on all sides by the darkness.
Some of them
Woods
evacuated,
are-
though, didn't they? Twilly and Miranda mentioned that people were evacuating.
You... some people were getting cleared out. They were in various stages of evacuation. I talked directly to the Forest Touched for our colony, because despite my appearance, I actually kind of have experience in working with shadows, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I don't. We can explain that one later, but to let you know, I get it.
Wonderful. The journey was not as far as you might think. The Forest Touched arranged for a teleport to the outer edges of Eunbach.
Oh, this is all Ambach. We're just in the capital city. So you must have traveled with a different pack. Well done for getting through it. That well. We're not an easy bunch.
No one is an easy bunch, I found, but you guys were the ones who ran through, and
we've cleansed place before, and we did
Mm-hmm.
actually mention that we were in the.
I heard about that, where
Yeah.
you got through a bit of the western edge of a separate colony. Thank the gods for that. It's really bad.
Question.
Possible answer.
Half dragon lady. Any idea where she went afterwards?
Out of character, no.
No.
Everybody's thought was, this is going to kill us, or worse, we're going away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No.
Understandable.
I wish I could answer that, but unfortunately I'm only a bearer of so much bad news.
I think for her,
Please excuse my demeanor. It's not addressed at you.
I understand, it's okay. You would be surprised.
I have a particular history with her.
There's
Seems
been
like all of you do.
Well,
outside of our fights, it's been a running thing.
well,
Wonderful.
this is going to take some conversation now, because
Yeah, that's
Our-
mention up.
our issue at this point is, yeah, the Elvenwild was very much in our sights, but until we heard about this, and it may still have to be prioritized this way, if we don't clear that White Dragon Varidel asshole out of Gray's Inn, growing season is dead for Baronsvere.
We have to because of where. How familiar are you with where Gray's Inn is?
Roll me a history check, I guess. I know you're not
gonna just-
proficient in it, but
I'm also just mentally starting a counter for how many times I have instinctively gone to lean over and pick up the physical dice and not use the roll 20. That's number one.
Yeah, that takes some getting used to. I finally just had to leave mine in another room.
I miss
Same here.
Probably what I'm
Same
gonna have
here.
to do. Why did it do the thing again?
I miss rolling.
because I swap that's my bad. Basically. Yeah, there we go.
Switch the toggle. Yep.
Actually, let me have a look at what you are. Yeah, you definitely have to roll again. There's too much disparity.
There's too many numbers.
Oh, it's not that. Oh, well, I mean, it's that too. But
That's still-
one time, one accidentally rolled, and it was 19 in both. So, you know that it's. I mean, you don't know precisely, but in preparation for this, you did have a look at a map, and you do know that Gray's Inn is a pretty large sweep of land that ends right at the border between Baronsvere and Equitas, and basically goes all the way over to Goldendale. You know that it needs to be that big because it's a lot of agrarian, mostly livestock. And you also know that the more, that if a winter is spreading, the next thing it's going to touch is going to be all the farming concerns over in Goldendale.
Okay, yep, nope, that's bad. That is actually also very bad. So we have 2 problems now. Wonderful.
Oh, we've all got the same problems. It's just prioritizing the problems. As on one hand, obviously we need to do something about the Elvenwild. Our original thought was effectively to deny asshole in Black Crown any allies by murdering the ancient dragons, starting with the white so that we could stop a potentially year-long winter.
As well as open up another transportation route.
That too. Although, I have some thoughts about that. Let me think on that one. And then see what was going on in the Elvenwild with the Ancient Green. Unfortunately, I don't think avoiding layers is something we have time to do anymore, because we tried it the last time, and we got that Arcan asshole.
I'm still worried about where that one is, because if he's just wandering around...
We can't think about that right now. We've got enough going on.
We don't want him dropping in the middle of the black fight.
No, but we can't...
We can't worry about him right now.
We can't search for him. We need to deal with the problems we know are there. We're going to lose the entire Elvenwild if we don't do something soon.
Yep, so we're going to get this sorted first.
White first, because if the ideas that I'm having are feasible, then we could conceivably get more allies through, depending on who's actually going to be listening to me, if we can get that tunnel open again.
Okay.
Then we can deal with the green. But we're going to have to consider that we're... Fuck. We don't know how often this can be done, Rylan. I don't think we could do it for everybody left in the Elvenwild, but we can do it for you. If I can talk to the right people and get things arranged, and it might save some effort, Hazel, if I can get this arranged, we can borrow your key. I'm gonna message Lyra. If you can pass over something you wear that's meaningful to you, we can have it returned the following day and grant some protection from the black sludge. It's not... It won't protect you forever. You'll have to wash it off immediately when it gets on you, but it's not... But it protects you long enough to be able to do that.
It'll be something it's a ward against it that's not 100% effective, but at the very least it gives you a chance of getting the goo off you
before it seeps in
and gets in you.
Like I say, I don't think we could offer that to everybody, but if any of us are going to be fighting it, we need that.
Yeah, we need all of us to be kitted out.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you've passed along your message, I mean, what are your plans now?
I mean, that is a really good question. I don't think I had any plans. I've been chasing you all for so long.
I mean, you're welcome. I'm assuming. I probably shouldn't do that, but
I'm
looking for us, and so I'm.
The only reason I asked was to make sure you didn't have any other plans, because it's pretty clear that what you're doing is trying to save your colony. You actually have the best interest of the Elvenwild at heart, which is more than we can say for the first people we addressed when we were in the Elvenwild.
Oh,
so
God, who did you encounter first?
People in charge.
The knife-eared bitch that is my mother.
The High Elves.
Oh, the bitches.
Glancing at Hazel.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hazel's birth mother is their diplomat, the Lady Emma Vela. I understand she didn't treat you guys particularly well. She didn't treat anybody particularly well. Particularly not us. And then she invited the half dragon in, and well, I don't know if she was the one who actually did the inviting. I'm pretty sure she didn't 100% like what was going on, partially because instead of getting involved in the fight that ended with me getting dragged to the Shadowfell, she just immediately teleported away. So we don't know where she is either, or what her intentions are.
More missing questions. Wonderful.
Always missing persons, and given that we didn't know where a half-dragon, half-handbag woman went, and then she came back with it looks at first like, oh crap, I am so sorry. I think we might possibly need to speak to Vievoled about that.
She'll probably want to know, yes.
I'm going to stop cackling long enough to go, yep, we do that first.
Well, I mean, Barnabas and Ree have lunch with her today.
You can mention it then, yeah.
Yep.
Please do.
Right.
Please do.
Well,
I don't know how much of the news about this has got to the Elvenwild, but most of the Dragonborn colonies and Silver Dragonborn colonies and communities specifically, that seems to be where it started. But the people who were involved with this whole black sludge thing coming to this continent, because it used to be in the Southern Lands and basically just stayed there, but now it's here. But they were apparently massacring Dragonborn colonies. But it doesn't look like they were massacring them at all. If what you're saying is true.
Then what they have been doing?
Well, they've been...
You mean they've been corrupting them instead?
That.
What?
Oh, God.
Okay. The black stuff you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
There's the simplest way is to out and out say it. Tiamat is trying to use that to escape wherever it is she's locked away in.
Avernus, apparently.
Oh.
Wherever in Avernus she is locked in.
Yeah. That's where we met this Arkan guy who there's a lot. There is such a lot, but yeah, there seems to be a couple of evil gods involved in this black sludge, which in and of itself is
right.
Which in and of itself is an intelligence, an entity and thing from beyond time and space, which has been causing no end of trouble, mostly in the Southern Lands, which is where Ree and Barnabas met, and how at least one of them wound up on a more religious path than they were originally. And the Silver Dragonborn are not the only communities that got slaughtered by the individuals dealing with this thing. Like, apparently mine? I didn't know what I was until I met these guys. I largely thought I was just some really weird kind of human. So then I find out I'm Azamar, and then I find out that my particular kind of Azamar in specific were very heavily targeted by this black crap. And now the few survivors are being held under house arrest in Ambier because my flame-winged cousins are power-tripping assholes.
Paranoid power-tripping assholes.
And not dealing with that one, and dealing with that one in a potentially violent way will end up causing food shortages all over Equitas.
Which is also bad.
So, as you can imagine, we've got a lot going on, but if you maybe
I mean,
and
the
maybe
least I can do is try and help with some of this.
I can
Probably.
we were I mean I we honestly I was gonna ask anyway because you look like you need a hug and a cookie.
You're so nice.
Hazel?
Hold still.
No, hand, not face.
Ah,
No, I'm talking to Hazel. Hand, not face.
Yeah. I'm gonna produce cookies.
Yeah. And now we roll the hand of fate.
wait, what? No.
Oh, yes, because they got a selection.
Yeah, Hazel does have quite the selection, and what she has pulled out is some of the maple and hazelnut cookies that she is particularly fond of, which have their origins in the Elvenwild. So
That's
she has
nice.
pulled out a couple of very comforting to Elvenwild individuals cookies.
I'm just like taking tiny little nibbles.
Okay, make sure you swallow and
Yeah.
hold still.
Oh boy.
Getting up, shuffling over, and epic class Hazel hug around the shoulders, so you're getting just a wee bit squished.
Hazel, bones bend,
Don't
and
forget-
it hurts when they do.
Don't forget breathing as well.
Hazel.
If he starts emitting any sort of like vague squeaking noise,
Yeah,
of air escaping, I let go.
Yeah, there was a squeaking noise that seemed to be an attempt at the word breathe.
There you go.
If you think that's sudden, you wait until you meet her parents.
You will be mobbed.
Not in
and
that
adopted.
sense, don't worry.
He
Was
will
that
be
not getting mobbed.
two
You'll be mobbed by the kids.
two halfling women and about a dozen kids.
Oh, criminy.
You will be mobbed and then shortly
Not all
after
of them are
adopted.
halfling.
Most of the kids aren't halfling.
Exactly.
A lot of them are smaller than the average, though.
Lean back in my
Sometimes.
my favorite spot being near Clarity.
You'll find your pockets full of candy that you don't remember putting there. You can thank Evan later.
And Zana will throw clothes at you.
Very nice clothing, mind you. Very nice.
Thankfully, not actually throwing, though that entirely depends on if anyone's constructed a small catapult in the interim.
Zana's very small.
There's the face of Rylan trying to look back and forth between all of you as you're saying this and processing.
I think the words I used once are aggressively welcoming. Sorry about that.
This is fine. This is fine. Everything is fine. We're gonna save my homeland and maybe get this shit out of reality again.
That was kind of what we were working towards because we know it went dormant for a while, except I'm not sure whether it ever really went dormant in the Southernlands, but apparently it's been around and it's gone in stages, so somebody's been able to banish it for a while. We just need to figure out how.
Or maybe how to just rebanish the whole thing again.
That's the thing. If it was that easy, somebody would have done it centuries ago.
Oh.
That one's not something we're going to find in a book. If there was going to be a way to permanently banish it, that would be something we'd find ourselves.
Alright then.
Ben's were probably going to have been the only individuals who would have good luck, and banishing that would be deities. And as much as some of us are inclined to be in contact with ours in various levels, it's not as though it's something we could drop an entire pantheon on.
And that's the thing. The one deity we know who might have the answer to that question literally can't come back until we get rid of it.
Fuck.
the long lost goddess of wisdom and knowledge.
Because if there's one thing you don't want to get in contact with this stuff, it's the embodiment of thought and ideas when this stuff apparently spreads like it.
This stuff, not only does it corrupt, it absorbs aspect of what it consumes. So if it were to, say, absorb a deity of thought and idea, it would become thought and idea.
And then you wouldn't have to be touched by the black crap in order to be...
corrupted. It would essentially corrupt all thought and knowledge, and yeah.
Even thinking about it would just immediately cause black stuff to start flying out of your ears.
Well, that just put me off any kind of...
Okay. We have reading to do.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Those of us who are not... those of us who are waiting for some element of information before we pick a place, I guess we'll keep Ryland company for a little while. Don't worry, there'll be fewer of us, and that will probably be less intimidating for you. I know we're a lot.
Everyone is a lot in their own way.
Yeah, but remember, I saw your colony.
Yeah, no, also fair.
So, yeah, you two don't forget you have lunch with Governor Led. That's going to be a conversation. Sorry.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I'm not forgetting that.
I know. And you are going to say one way or the other, at least to me. Please.
Of course.
Thank you. So, yeah, good luck to whoever's starting the researching, and
Darwin gets up to kind of stands up, just kind of shakes himself off a little to be like, okay, right, I got a thing to do. And as he walks out toward the door, walks by Ryland, puts his hand on his shoulder, squeezes a little bit, goes, we'll save him. You're not losing family. No one else is losing family.
I'm not losing them again.
And that gets a blink, and he's like, no, I gotta go. He's like, I'm not gonna ask, and keeps going. He doesn't say the I'm not gonna ask out loud, but he's got to does the head shake just later, and keeps.
And from the scarf around your neck, welcome to the Cupcake Coterie, and Sylvan.
And as Darwin walks out, you can see his buckler, and that's where you see the. I don't know if you've seen on any of the.
No, he's still a little behind on. They're still a little behind on
then.
I started episode 100 last night. That's how
Good
far
God,
back
we've had some. I've lost count. And
this is going to be like 125. This one coming. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So
the words on the buckler: "Ride or die with frosting."
And in the center, the most magical, sparkly-looking purple cupcake.
With frosting.
Look, the ride or die with frosting was my fault. The words were my fault.
Somebody give me that on a T-shirt immediately.
Actually, I'm working.
Actually,
as soon as I have a color printer, I'm going to be making keychains.
Which I did get permission from the artist to do so, provided it's just amongst us. It's just for the group. It's fun.
Yeah,
they don't mind.
Yeah, I kind of figured that in that kind of case, it's as long as I'm not earning money off it or calling it my own, which I wouldn't do. Exactly. So yeah, the name is Clarity's fault. The words "ride or die with frosting" are my fault. The art's all him.
And then there's just Ryland responding to the dragon. Wait, if you guys are named after cupcakes, how have I not seen any of you presenting a single cupcake yet?
Because the cupcakes were how they bonded.
Ah.
when you meet the Remy lady's mommy, or the Hazel lady's mom and mama, then you will see cupcakes. Cupcakes that you've never seen.
Alright then.
This is all in Sylvan.
Yes,
Mhm.
and but you were heading out for the studying thing.
Yep.
Also, Miss
I
Francine.
missed my chance to indicate the ride or die thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Darvin's buckler had it written, so Ryland would have seen it when he was walking out. And it's just... Also, Miss Francine, except it's Baroness Francine now. And it was her husband who had the recipe originally, but he's kind of dead now.
This sounds like a story for a late night with a candle and an inkwell.
I think there's like 5 songs already.
5?
There's lots of songs about these guys.
Oh god damn it! If he finds out about
There's a whole play. There's a whole play in Eggcraft.
The stained glass window.
Or has that been saved for later?
Multiple stained glass windows, I think.
And Alice is just, oh fuck.
Either
That's
any
what I
of you
left.
hear my sentence at all?
Oh no, but you've got Cloudy mentioning about the stained glass window. It's just, fuck. I don't speak
there's
it, but yeah, okay.
And then there's just Rylan asking, is there a musical any for these guys yet?
We don't actually know if the play is a musical.
Wonderful.
There are lots of ballads, and
Well, of course there are. You're all a party of adventurers. There will always be ballads.
we've been a party of adventurers since like autumn, the first of them, and yet there's been epic.
I can tell.
I can dance you at least one of them, especially now that Ree has gone out, because the only reason I'm here is because this one, and the little fairy dragon that's curled up around your neck, as well as our last wood elf companion. He's fine. He's just interning for his cousin right now. Anyway, they didn't have Revivify, they didn't have Raise Dead, they didn't have Resurrection, but they still petitioned gods and brought me back from the dead when they shouldn't have been able to.
Wow. That is... There's just like this pause that comes over his face. That is... good to know.
The gods love our dumb flaily asses. You're in good hands.
Clearly. Clearly they do. Oh, good heavens.
You'll get used to it. I felt the same, maybe a little less oh my goodness-y, because I actually use swear words.
Oh, I cuss too sometimes, just... for some reason, the cussing really doesn't come out unless I'm, like, actively banishing something.
Yeah, I can see banishment as, fuck off asshole. That's a good verbal
I mean, I
component.
was gonna say more like an abraca fuck you, but that works too.
I did meet one individual who decided that exorcism should be performed by fuck off ghost.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to tell a ghost to fuck right off.
Darvin's actually got a good story about doing something similar to a banshee, although it did involve a rapier in the throat, if memory serves. No, right through the eye.
Ah, even worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, it knocked out our friend, their friend. I'd never met her. More's the pity. But yeah, we've got some time while they're doing some research, so we can tell you stories.
Stories are nice.
Cool. And we'll leave them to be storytelling, and since we're nearly at break time, we'll take our break now and then deal with at least some of the research bits. I don't imagine you'll get very far on the first day, but we'll see how you approach it. back into the antechamber of stars, where it's Barnabas, Remy, Darvin, Froseth, Hazel, and we hadn't decided on Clarity, Ava, or Alice, and Rylan is currently limited to the antechamber of stars, which is another reason to try to keep the research short, as well as the other reasons that he kind of dumped on y'all. So yeah, you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 head back into the gargantuan space again. It really is kind of like walking through space until you get to, you do have a thick looking scroll sat on just a little pedestal, which is probably the Scroll of Heroes. A globe, which if you look at it, looks like it's depicting Elon as a world. There's a little plaque that says you can actually turn the globe and see what the constellations look like from various bits. There's a sort of a bar along it with a crystal set in one specific spot, and if you line up the crystal with a specific spot, you'll see the stars as they look right now if the sun were down from that spot. And then there's your big ass sofa sized dais looking thing with all the little bronze plaques.
I'm going to go over and take a look at the plaques and see if I can find the ones labeled religion.
And there are a few. There's basically one that indicates that it's more list of the gods and their domains, and there's another one that's straight up mythology.
Probably mythology, right, Froseth?
If you're wondering about that, make me a wisdom check. Or a religion check. You have proficiency in that, by all means.
Both of us?
Well, you asked the question, so no.
11.
You know the god you're looking for. That sounds like it makes sense.
Sounds correct.
Well, so I'm going to take the leap of faith, as it were, and hit the one for mythologies.
Yeah. Are you just tapping or holding?
Is there any instructions that say tap or hold?
And again, now we roll the hand of fate. It does seem to indicate hold to travel.
Well, I'm going to press and hold.
And all of a sudden, Hazel vanishes.
Well then,
Well,
guess it
one would-
works.
Yeah, one would assume that's supposed to happen.
Clarity's gonna really.
Froseth is going
enjoy
with,
that
so do the same thing with the mythology.
Press and hold, and Froseth. Hazel and Froseth end up in what looks like an amphitheater. There's rows and rows of circular stalls seating, bleachers seating. And if you walk around, you'll get to the box where, the great and the good would end up sitting with the best view. There's another little pedestal there, with a little crystal globe stuck to it and a plaque that reads, "Speak your myth."
Bahamut's exiling of Tiamat.
The lights go down everywhere but the center of the space. And what plays out before you is, it's not quite a play, but it's more like it's actually happening in front of you, like a very impressive, not so silent image. You see the discussions that the gods had about how to deal with the fact that, Tiamat was out of control, and if Bahamut and Tiamat were just allowed to battle it out to the death, it would cause some significant problems to the mortals. Zavillan and Istus hatching their plan to lure Tiamat into the right place, and Bahamut's slamming Tiamat through the Shattered Lands so hard that she wound up crippled in Avernus.
If I can keyword anything.
Gods
and corruption.
The crystal globe goes into a bit of a rainbow skew at that point, which seems to be the more information required, please.
Have any...
Can both of you roll me a religion check?
Yep, that's sort of what I'm mulling over.
There you go.
Ah.
Yeah, please roll again.
Let me turn that off again.
Yeah, it's Froseth who was like, okay, we don't really have a vector on asking what happened next. Maybe we should ask Alice to hit the gods in general button. But for right now, maybe we should ask myths regarding the chained oblivion. Hazel more or less stops at, well, Alice still has a slot she isn't poking.
Yeah, let's take the miss for the chained oblivion.
This time you get a series of options. How the chained oblivion was chained. What happened to Lolth? Relationship with Tiamat.
Relationship with Tiamat.
The scene that plays out before you is Tiamat trapped in Avernus, making her own little hellscape home, but clearly not enjoying it in the least, but granting her followers the gift of being Abishai, and generally making herself a little fighting force, when a being who for their particular purposes, takes the shape of a black dragonborn. Approaches with an offer of power. Says that it's difficult to control and reputed to be dangerous. And probably shouldn't be telling you this because I would not wish to see my queen. And obviously, that's direct appeal to Tiamat's pride. But if nothing else, the spread of this power uncontrolled in places would allow for enough distraction to be free. At which point Tiamat seems agreeable with this beyond one thing. If there's power to be had, I will have it. The Black Dragonborn is withholding for now, but only because it would appear anyway, particularly for Froseth with the high passive perception, but you both are fairly wise and have got decent insight. It's only holding back so that she'd only be tainted when she was free and able to spread it a lot easier to all of the chromatics of her faith and their various domains.
What in the hell do we prove to an angry five-headed dragon goddess that she's being taken for a fool?
Blade? Especially when we're working against her already, so there's no reason for trust to ever be there.
Yeah. I can think of convincing her follower, but that's also a question of how. We know of one that was already concerned, but he's in the wind and we can't really go looking for him. I'm gonna hit the thing again, put my hand on the thing again. What happened to Lolth?
What you get is... let me double check my... I actually have that one written out. This is one that links up, yeah, again, yes, the Chained Oblivion. There was a fight between Lolth, who at that time was a goddess of order and effectively just stability. I mean, consider a spider's web. A proper one. But there was a fight. And Tharizdun, the Chained Oblivion, won out over her. And as she was weakened and injured, he gave Lolth to Torog, who set over torture and enslavement. She was given to him so he could break her. It was said that he would be permitted to kill her, but Tharizdun had no intention of letting that be the case. But it was the best way of making sure that he thoroughly broke Lolth, because I'll let you kill her if you break her well enough. So, when the breaking was more or less complete, Therisdun rescued her before the killing blow could land. And exposed her to another couple of the more evil gods, just to let her have some things to rebuild with, and let her rebuild herself in his shadow. So now she is the tainted, poisonous, surface health-hating queen of manipulation that she is today. At the very end, there's a minor scene of a cross-species group of theologians wondering whether it would be possible to redeem her. Questions about whether the chaos in the world, the allowing of this taint and other such horrors, is down to the Mistress of Order no longer being a Mistress of Order, and whether they could just redeem her, or whether they'd have to kill her, and maybe have her rise again as something better. But the indication seems to be that the chaos that is now in the world was allowed because the deity set properly over order was taken so far out of the equation.
Myths of the Southern Lands.
You broke up a bit there, Smeagol.
Myths of the Southern Lands?
You're getting that, excuse me? Blinking of multicolors again.
Black shit was there. Done?
Sorry, that last word broke up a bit.
I'm just half wondering if the Southern Lands have any myths about Tharizdun, and I'm contemplating casting divination or commune in order to try and find something out.
I mean, if you're asking about whether the Southern Lands have any myths specifically about Tharizdun, the answer is apparently no. Not specifically, or at least not by that name.
That question. Okay, incense.
If you light that?
Yeah, I'm not lighting it. I'm not lighting it. I'm just holding it.
Okay.
Incense. And I'm still rooting around in my bag for an appropriate offering.
Okay.
Food.
I mean, I'll assume you find some. You've got a bag of holding. It's got enough bits and pieces in it.
Looking. Library. Can't light this in a library. Books. Right. Well, I know at least that I'll be able to come back in, exit, looking around.
So are you leaving?
I'm trying to figure out how.
Well, there's still the door in the amphitheater, but all Furseth sees is, right, at least I know I can come back. Pat, 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 pat around the...
I'm just looking around.
Well, you can see the door.
Yeah,
It's at the very other side. You could
There
also
was a
ask
third
if...
option. with the chained one, right?
Yes, how Theriston became chained in the first place.
If you hit that
Yeah.
before I leave, I'm just gonna stop and watch.
Yeah, Froseth is gonna miss how Thurston became chained.
Yeah. Apparently, this actually happened after the wounding of Zavillan and what happened to Lulth, when basically, even with the Divine Gate, it was pretty clear that Therisdun was not keeping to the bargain, finding ways in for chaos and corruption and absolute horror. So, the more fiery tempered of the gods were basically arguing over who was going to lead the charge, and their bickering lit the skies with lightning and fire. Up until Rao, rational and the god of being rational and peace, etc., stepped in and tried to chill things out, because normally this would be Zavillan's job, but Zavillan was in hiding. So it was deemed fit that Tritherion lead the charge. And before all that, though, Pelor saw to some other matters. He went back to the forge that created the world and made chains, which he then gave to Tritherion. You are set over retribution. The Spider Queen cannot mete out justice herself, so Tritherion didn't even let Pelor finish. Retribution in her name by her means. So when the gods finally beat down Therisdun, they chained him up with chains made by the forge that created the world before they dropped him into endless dark. Some scholars are wondering, the ones that are focused on the multiverse and the infinite planes are wondering how close that darkness came into Avernus. And given the Tiamat thing at the moment, the answer is not far enough. But it does explain how the Chained Oblivion might, although there's no mythology on this, but might have changed in that extraplanar space to the point where even chained figured out something to do.
Well, that actually gives more reason for me to ask a ritual question. Froseth?
Well, given how many of the given how long has passed, unless Froseth has anything else he specifically wants to ask, it might be wise to do that while you're breaking for lunch, because this took longer than me speaking, and also I have to get to these guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, Darvin, Remy, and Barnabas saw Hazel and Froseth press their relevant buttons and psst, one after the other.
Right. Well, that should hopefully be pretty straightforward. Mythology. Okay. So I'm gonna wander up there and start going through looking for historical songs, tales, something of that nature. Less so the mythology bent, but just more, the epic yarns, as it were.
Yeah. Well, basically what you have is an entire row of Bard's Corner for various different countries, provinces. There's also ones that are set by genre, if you like. So, epic ballads, tales of tragedy, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, for Bahamut's sake. Oh boy. Great. I'm gonna have to narrow this down. I was hoping for more just All right, I'm gonna have to hold off and wait and see what Broseth and Hazel came up with, because seems like theirs was more general. I'm saying this out loud too for the
Yeah.
benefit of Remy and Barnabas.
Yeah.
Just to see, you two can probably tell by the tone. It's just there's a little bit of, you guys have any better ideas?
Well, to be fair, they're doing their own bits of lookout, which is military campaigns by mercenary company and by date chunks.
I look over at them.
Oh, that's a lot.
Right? Oh boy. Ooh, wait, and pull out some paper, and I'm writing down like all of the list. I'm making a list of the categories so I can take it back to
Okay.
people.
Actually, to be fair, it's probably Darwin that would consider this, because he does have an ear for a story, and he pays attention to the people around him, and has known certain persons rather longer than the rest. The quick flight diminutives fought that black shit. You remember that's how Lyra lost her eyes?
Right. Wait. Yeah. So he starts writing down a few. Probably runs across something that would have referenced that song, them, and going, wait a minute. The quick flight diminutives, they dealt with some of this.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That's a specific thing we can look at.
Yeah.
We can get started with it. Great.
Gotta.
And I might be able to use that as a jumping off point, either forward or backward.
We gotta jump in somewhere.
Right.
Who knows when Froseth and Hazel will be back from their jumping.
Right. Okay. I'm not sure which category it would be to start with that.
Well, like I said, for those two, it's there's also by mercenary company.
Oh.
Not just dates, but mercenary companies. I mean, you know the dates as well, but
right. Do you see them listed?
Yes, but do you know what year? Roughly, what year?
Darwin will remember that they retired 40 years ago.
Right. They retired 40 years ago, so well, obviously before then.
That's the start.
The song. I'm trying to remember if the song itself had a date. Any dates in it mentioned in it? No. Okay.
No, but I'll give you this one you can find, given that there's a chunk of date that does include the 20 years they said they worked in. Yeah, they worked as the quick flight diminutives. It's obviously lasts for longer, but that'll also probably cover all of the all of the other companies who might have been working there at the time.
All right, we got a place to start.
Yeah. So
Remy is trying to narrow that down.
There's no narrowing it down from there.
Oh, okay. Then she'll look at the quick flight diminutives and that time period.
Yeah, press and hold. Well, it's divided into time period or mercenary company, not both.
Okay.
So then you were going for the time actually going for the time period because that meant you covered more ground.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was the attempt we were making anyway. So yeah, you press, hold, and pfft. And Barnabas does the same. What you guys have is it should be a room, but it looks more like a tent. And you all know what a good war table looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Except the map isn't just a paper map. It's a little bit more like a Warhammer kind of terrain map.
All right.
At which point it's just sort of there's bits of paper off to the side that's largely campaign names, which should help to narrow down a little bit the kinds of things you're asking for. So, and I don't have names for every single one of the campaigns, but what sort of thing are you looking for?
Definitely stuff that sounds like it's about the corruption.
All of it sounds like it's about the corruption. That's what they were fighting.
Oh, any more large-scale battles?
Now we roll the hit fate. It's a little tricky to tell, but the best way you've got of dealing with it is cross-referencing which of the battles had more companies thrown into it, because some only involve a company or two, some involved as much as they could throw at people.
Yeah,
And some of those have little asterisks up alongside them, which apparently attach to smaller skirmishes. Either of you want to make me a history check?
Sure. $14.
Just waiting on Remy.
Oh.
Barnabas is watching Remy go through the really, really big battles, and he's remembering not only battlefield tactics, but also being a cop.
Mm-hmm.
The big important shit is generally not happening when all the big stuff is happening. Normally the big noise, the big riot, the big fight is a distraction to allow something a little more spearhead looking. So Remy is looking for big epic battles, which are generally all about shield banging and who kills how many of whom, where for something like this, if the people who are actually potentially stopping, slowing down, or containing this stuff would have been the little groups attached to it. So the asterisks that she's ignoring in favor of big battles, that's what you want to look at.
He completely lays it out for him, we're looking for this sort of thing.
No. In character, please. In character. I make everyone else do it. I'm doing it for you too.
Wait a minute. Instead of the big battles, those are usually they're going to be a distraction for the real point of it. Like, the corruption's not here to just conquer. We should be looking more at the actual skirmishes that are attached to it. That might be more information than just, the huge battle kind of thing.
Yeah, that does make sense. I'm just hoping somewhere in here there'll be something that says how maneuvers or anything, and more how they were able to fight it without getting infected themselves. If
That would definitely be something to look in the skirmishes, I think.
hopefully. So Remy will start flipping through different pages.
Yeah. Well, if she's tracking the asterisks, if she reads out one of the reference names for the first asterisk, it is very faint, very tinny sounds of massive battle, but that's not what shows up on your little table. Basically, get minis. And the first one, what you get is something that's actually fairly familiar to you guys. what it looks like is they were trying to find leader tents, sneaking in for plans, trying to figure out what this stuff was, because at that time, it would appear nobody had any kind of real reference material. So they went into a cave that they snuck past and into a cave that was likely to be someplace that Command was setting up. And you all know what happened next. This bunch were less lucky than you were.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody got out. But that's only the first one. They tried again for that one on the second Ascaris. The big battle seems to be laid out a little bit differently, but your little minis were a smaller force, and while not everyone made it, a couple came through the mess of incredibly tainted individuals, some of which were the previous mercenary band, and what happened to them was truly tragic and horrific. And they came out with some documentation. The third group that went in was the quick flight diminutives. At that stage, the tiny, if you look really closely at the mini, I mean, these are incredibly detailed damn minis. So you can still see the bandages across Lyra's eyes, and those little scars that you can see at their edges are actually slightly red, which indicates that that happened very recently in this particular time frame. Jenna is with them, a lot younger. And it's Jenna and Lyra who you can't hear anything with the minis talk, but between the two of them they seem to be casting some kind of blessing over the party, which you can't say for sure, but is probably the same kind of protection that you guys are carrying. Pace, nay, religious focus, that kind of thing. They enter. They do a lot better. Clearly, that paperwork, whatever it was incredibly helpful. There doesn't seem to be anything more to be stolen. Twilly and Lyra, this time, set up in the middle with the others basically fighting off all comers. Whatever they ended up with at the end of the day was about the size of a basketball, more of a dodecahedron than anything else, and glowing. The dwarf that actually runs the bar over at the Book, Bow and Dragon in Belarus hooks some very obvious explosives to the thing. And Jenna actually has to pick up Twilly and Lyra because they are both flat on their backs, unconscious from whatever sheer effort they put into this, which is the only explanation for why they didn't mention anything about this before, or maybe it had to be in the right place. And they run for it. Some injuries are taken. Nobody, I mean, there's a couple of close calls with tainting, but they get things cleaned up just quickly enough in a couple of cases. And then you see the entire thing just flash boom, the radiant sort of glow, which point little demolition dwarf starts tracking around the cave area to collapse anything else that's with them. There seems to be a segue next into a much, much larger battle as things at the big distraction battle get more and more panicked. The battles following that one all tend to be smaller. from what Remy is reading. I don't know how many more they'd end up looking at, but they all tend to be skirmishes and the kind of things that you guys were more involved in during your time rather than the huge operations that were happening in the early times. So they clearly didn't stop it entirely because, it's still there, but the gaps between skirmishes get bigger. The forces needed to tamp it down get smaller. It never goes away entirely, but it significantly dies off.
Yeah, Remy, definitely looking for more details on the information that the second group recovered.
But that's the thing. That's not to do with the battle.
Fair enough.
What did they blow up? What was that?
Some kind of magical item. Not controlling them, but maybe.
Well, no, they created the magical item.
Oh, I thought you said that they recovered something.
No, they created this thing, and doing it nearly killed two of them.
Oh, there was something in that cave that not necessarily controlled them, but guided them, made them stronger and more coordinated.
Could both of you guys make me a perception check, please? You both
All right.
You both notice the zoom function at the same time.
The what function?
Zoom. This apparently, as Barnabas is doing his kind of okay, I need to frame this out thing, and spreads his hands a little bit, and somehow that bit between his hands looks bigger, magnified.
Oh, that's neat.
Looking into there, you don't get a very good look at what this office camp thing is built on, but you can see in the shadows off towards the back where the skirmish didn't focus because the map didn't focus because no soldiers were there. It looks like the antithesis of an oasis. There's some kind of plant life that looks just plain wrong, and some squirming things that you can't really identify, and little glowing red dots in places that look kind of like eyes. And all of it is in what's effectively a swampland of nope. You've played TSW Noms, you know some of those places? Some of those places.
That must be the heart of it. Or at least the part that existed in that region. So they blew it up. More than just a normal explosive, but they summoned enough of something to scour it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm finding it oddly comforting that something like that would even work, to be honest.
And to be fair, it seems to only half have done. It beat it back for a while, but
Still something.
As for Remy, she couldn't speak to Twilly because Twilly's magic is it's wizard magic. But she knows who Lyra's patron is, because it's also Remy's patron. That might give some indication of what sort of energy was involved there. Well, to be fair, Barnabas doesn't know as much. Remy's not as talkative about her patron as some might.
Well, at least the part that Lyra contributed, she was likely drawing from Zerial. I'm gonna have to ask them about that. I mean, it wasn't just her, but it's a start.
All right, sounds like a plan. Zerian?
Zerial.
Zeriel. I've heard that before, but I don't remember exactly what that is.
He's the Solar of Pelor who helped bring Alisei back.
You will then also remember that Zeriel is also the celestial being that created the spark that makes Alisei Azamar in the first place. You'll also probably remember, apropos of not much, that's where Remy gets some of the not really a paladin bullshit.
All right. Having a lead on what that was would be a huge help.
Definitely. It's not exactly a permanent solution, but they clearly managed to stamp it down a good bit.
Barnabas being the intelligent one. Of those two that worked on that thing, it was only Lyra, who is only one person with that connection. If Zeriel is Pelor's Solar, that's Hazel, Remy, and Alisei as direct connections. More people might mean more power, you don't know.
We can hope. That's for sure.
Well, it's musing and just out of nowhere, we can hope. So Remy doesn't know where that came from.
Well, maybe with, the only person, Lyra was the only person with any connection to Zeriel or Pelor at all in that, from what I understand. You've got a connection, Hazel's got a strong connection, and Alisei's also got a connection. Maybe with more people, there's more power?
That is possible. I mean, that's getting very academic, but that sounds reasonable.
Right, and I'd say it sounds reasonable or logical, but this involves gods and whoever what, and that's never reasonable or logical, but we can hope.
The reasonable and logical from Barnabas is, okay, that may have been the wellspring or a wellspring in the Southern Lands. Now what you need to do is find the wellspring in Baronsphere. Well, in Elossa in general. Because it could be in the Elvenwild, but the Elvenwild's big, and for all you know, that's A, not the only one, or B, not the main one. You're going to need more maps.
We're going to need a lot more maps.
Also, in the midst of that, you get a from the walls, bing, bing, bing. Mr. Stumplefink, Miss Crestwind, this is your reminder that you have a lunch appointment with Governor Aled.
We'll be right there. Thank you.
Don't want to offend her, so I guess we get going.
Yep.
Out of the tent, and a page is waiting outside the antechamber of stars, and leads you to a smallish, cozy-ish, for where you are. It's a small dining room by the standards of the big, huge banqueting hall that you guys ate in the previous evening. And she's in human guise this time. Barnabas has only ever seen her as Dragonborn, so what he's seeing is a mid-height, very pale human woman with hair that trails down like a train onto the floor. Please take a seat.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. Now, I hadn't actually looked yet. I wanted to wait and I didn't want to come in and have the expression on my face answer the question immediately. It seemed a rude way to do things. So, let me just... She doesn't need that much in the way of components, so she just closes her eyes. Breathes for a minute. Opens them again. I can tell you 2 things. The answer to your question and what would have happened if you hadn't made that bargain. The answer I'll begin with. The other will be, he used it effectively the minute he had it to test it. To take away the sting of that. What would have happened? He doesn't like your winged friend very much, not because of her specifically, but because ever since she joined you, you've been less chaotic. He likes his chaos, you see. He was happy to let your group bounce around the world being chaotic, and she keeps you on track, and he doesn't like that very much.
I see.
He would have disrupted it before the I do's were said. And given that he's seen what works, this time, there are a few different takes on this, but this time, 2 people would have died the first time. And the first would have been your half-elf friend. She is the one who can bring people back in longer than a minute. Then the Azamar. They would have probably gone for my descendant next. And that would have left the more easily distracted, more prone to leaping before they look, with much less in the way of healing. And he would have sat back and watched the fun, and the things that you're looking to do next would no longer have been possible. I can't say that what you're planning is going to work. It doesn't work quite that way, but you would have failed. There is one being I know that might be able to get past the issue now, and that's not an option you can take until this is resolved, because the only individual I can think of who might be able to know a way to undo this would be Ziriel. And even then, I don't know that it's possible.
Wow.
I can grant you one thing.
And what might that be?
I can send a message. It has to be now. There's not that much time before that path is closed permanently, but I can allow you to send a message.
To my parents?
If you like, to any one
Please.
individual of your choice.
My mother, my adopted mother, just
She digs out a crystal, hands it to Barnabas. The very pale blue thing. Speak into it. You have 1 minute.
Mom, it's Bonnie. It's Bonnie. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm a long, long way from home. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get back, but I just want you to know that I'm not gone. I'm not dead. I love you very much, and I will do what I can to see you again. But if I don't, I love you. And he just hands the crystal back.
She won't take it because in the moment he's still holding it, the feeling is of a ghostly hug from his mother. We love you too, as long as you're safe and happy.
Love you. Thank you.
And that, after another few seconds, that fades. Vievelid takes the crystal and holds out a tissue.
Thank you.
I wish I could do more.
You've done more than enough. Thank you.
Pages set down lunch plates. I will leave you to it.
Thank you.
Touches him on the shoulder and leaves so that if nothing else, Barnabas can collect himself.
Remy steps up to the governor as she's starting to turn out.
Mm.
We bumped into a wood elf when we first entered the vault's antechamber.
Oh yes, he chose not to stay beyond the first evening. Is a little reticent, but he did seem to be little traumatized. So he was looking for you. I take it.
Yes, we've caught each other up to speed, and he's certainly a bit jumpy. But, what he had to report about the Elvenwilds, it's very concerning.
I see.
The most important, for lack of a better word, is their corrupted silver dragonborn.
They've made draconians. That's what they were called once. Be warned. Many of them take that black substance as wings.
He had said that when they died, they spread the corruption. And
there's some research. Your Azamar wife has access to the portion of the library that tells about creatures. If she hasn't got a research path yet, that might be where to send her.
we really need to find a way to protect people from that on a wider scale than what we've been given, because that's a complication.
I wouldn't even be able to do that much.
I understand.
That has to be left to you and yours. My magic is of the more intellectual bent. And while that can enhance some things without a divine magic user of equal power, and not to give myself airs, but there are very few who match me in magical power. It would not work. I think you may have to get creative.
We'll keep looking.
Well, you have the library, but from young Ryland's state, I don't imagine you have that straight off.
No, we were already only planning a few days, and unfortunately, we can't change our immediate plans to go to Grayson first. But after that, we'll be looking into the Elvenwild.
Reaches in a pocket, pulls out a notebook, tears out a page. This is the teleportation circle for not quite the palace, but it's sort of off to the side a little bit, nearish to the Silver Vault. Pass that along to Darwin as well.
Thank you very much.
It just means that if you need to go directly, or as directly as you can, to Gray's Inn, you can get there and back. And hopefully at least get something started. I can understand from an intellectual standpoint why you might want to deal with Gray's Inn first. Probably best to do that sooner, if for no other reason than ensuring that entire country survives next year, and
It's just so much hinging on that, yeah.
And the travel to Black Crown when you have to do it. Not all of you are good with the ways of the people. I'll leave you to it, and that was actually very well timed. It gives your friend time to compose himself a bit.
Thank you.
Well, no, this was further away while Barnabas was sitting and pulling himself together, so it's perfect. Go eat. You have a long day ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. No, Your Grace, thank you. You've done more than you know.
I have an idea. And she exits.
Ramen goes to dig in.
Yeah, it's they've stuck with simple fare at this point, and I'm just gonna say that those of you who did not have a specific break for lunch had in your own various tavern and spot in the library, just ping, ping, ping. If you would like to join Remy Crestwind and Barnabas Stumplefig, please meet at the doors of the palace, and a page will direct you. It looks at the bunch that didn't go to the library. I guess that they're playing our song.
Darwin finishing up making the list because he still didn't get to decide where the hell he was going to go. And it probably took that much time just to make the bloody ling. Considering how many course there plenty were, he's going to quickly book it. Damn it! I did it again. Sorry.
So yeah, eventually you guys get into the room. I mean, you do notice the table is way too big for you, and you understand why when this bunch start filing in. So is now a good time to ask what you thought of the bits of the Silver Vault you saw?
It's pretty neat.
Understatement.
I was expecting a library, not
Some
that.
some bits are, but
I suppose that does make sense.
and
You can see books?
you will see books, from what I understand.
Oh, okay.
No, it was this. It was like a wall room map table, but it could show you the battles or the things in like miniatures. There's so many commanding officers I've known would kill their own mothers to have that. It was actually really awesome.
I really ought to unlock that one at some point.
With all of us here,
Do you know how many quests you'd have to do to unlock the entire Silver Vault?
I know, but I want to see.
How about we save the world first, see how many unlocks that buys you, and go from there?
Okay.
Hopefully a few.
those of us who went into the religion section, well, we wound up with an amphitheater that showed us the myths, like not even like almost as though we were there. And let's just say that well, saving that we're gonna need probably to save this for a bit later, but there's information regarding Tiamat's connection to the stuff that will be relevant for where you guys go.
Gotcha.
That's good because there were so many categories, and he pulls out a piece of paper with like double-sided.
Yeah, that's
just packed.
the thing. Some of that's the thing. They're trying to subdivide because some of them overlap.
I didn't know where to start.
Well,
I was
these
thankful I was able to help. I was able to help Barnabas and Remy at least. But for me, I just so I wanted to come back and speak to. Well, a lot of y'all are wiser than me, so.
looks at the paper. Well, there's a section that's Ballads of the Southern Lands, and since it sounds like you did you guys focus the Southern Lands for yours, because that's the last really big battles I can think of. So, Ballads of the Southern Lands, because that should touch on ballads that were written in and about the Southern Lands rather than necessarily by people from the Southern Lands. Although some of those might come in too.
Considering that might even solve the question I was considering asking Paylor.
Oh.
Is Chained Oblivion called in the Southern Lands?
If I remember right from my mythology, isn't the Chained Oblivion chucked into an eternal darkness that might or might not be touching on Avernus?
Yep.
In chains created by the forge itself. I don't think it matters where it is. He, I don't even know if it has pronouns. It's more what or who he's managed to touch from out there.
That's sort of why I want to know what it's called in the Southern Lands so that I can find if they have any myths about who or what it touched.
Yeah, isn't Theriston a bit of a con man as far as that goes? I mean,
Sorry, saying
isn't the Chained Oblivion? Theriston was what he was before that, if I think. But didn't he like con his own evil god brethren into breaking Lulth?
Yep. And this is actually part of the relevance to Tiamat. He's playing her for a fool. She's dipping into the black shit under his suggestion.
Yeah, that's a new one on me.
Yeah, there was the one we watched showed Tiamat and a black looked like a dragonborn, basically appealing to her pride, offering her power, warning her against dipping too far into it because it's dangerous, but
That's just
she's obviously
gonna I can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Though it seems to be directing things so she wouldn't get too far gone until she was free.
At which point we'd have just chromatic dragons by virtue of existing becoming corrupted, as well as a 5-headed, flapping, black goo leaking nightmare on the material plane.
Do we think it would make her more powerful, or just?
It would make her more
Seems
powerful
given.
and less stable. So all in all,
boy.
worse.
Oh yeah.
Here's
She's not powerful enough.
Worse and worse.
Here's one that might be worth asking you two. Myths surrounding rituals required to free Tiamat.
plan.
You think you'll have information to not free her as well?
No, I just think it.
if we know how she'd be freed, you can go about
So we
preventing
can.
that.
I see.
Or avoid doing anything that might.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
we might not be able. Look, it took the gods and the forge that create chains forged by the forge that created the world to chain the chained oblivion, and they probably should have done that to Tiamat too. I don't know if they did. I don't think so, but either way, it took Bahamut to slam her into Avernus, and it's taking some kind of grand high poobah of the 9 hells to keep her down there. I don't think that anything we could do could trap her anymore.
Probably not. No.
So we can at least stop anybody, ourselves included, if we happen to be being fooled into something, but I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
We can stop that from happening, and hopefully buy ourselves some time to deal with a bit more of this black shit.
So I think I'm still going to ask about what the Chained Oblivion was called.
Yeah, no, I mean,
can run that.
You do you. We've got lunch, and then we've got the rest of today, and then possibly tomorrow, but we gotta start moving for Baron's Veer.
Yeah, agreed.
Did we get a teleportation circle for here?
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
The governor gave me one for part of the
excellent.
Elvenwild.
Cool. I mean, you guys sort out copying and whatever.
She'll share that.
So Remy and I, from what we saw, there was some fairly obvious, once you find it, like, what would you call it? A center of it, or
Something between a lake and maybe a rift.
Call it a wellspring. Sounds
yeah. There's well springs of the black shit, and actually, from what we saw, there was they actually were able to use some sort of, it was some kind of explosive powered by, I think, Halo, or I'm gonna get the name wrong again. Remy, what was the name?
Zerial.
Quick
flights. They created a divinely blessed bomb of some sort. And once they blew up the wellspring, it.
Are you sure they blew it up, or did they just wall it off?
Both. And once that happened,
out of character, you don't actually know that. You couldn't see further in. You know it weakened it, but you don't know if it stopped it up for good.
Remy's assuming, which he probably shouldn't do, but
Barnabas is Azorius Senate. He wouldn't.
Yeah, no. We were not 100% sure. They blew it up, and then they walled it in. We don't know if it blew up completely, or if they were being paranoid, or if they was just forced it back. We're not 100% sure, but it hurt it.
Well, given that we know the people who did it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you'd have to ask whether that battle happened in the same place that you guys were stationed. Thinking about it. That would tell us whether that wellspring went or if it opened up someplace else.
Good. I didn't even think of that. Ugh.
That's.
We were looking at it from a different perspective.
Like, some of this is, like, I didn't pay much attention to lessons back in the day. I mean, I was at least the music, not into the music ones, but I mean, there was some stuff, and there was stuff about, like, out of character. I don't know if Darwin would have heard anything about basically geology.
No.
Okay.
That's a very specialized science in this kind of world.
Okay. Well, it's just, it's this stuff is underground. It's like, how did it get underground in the first place?
Maybe
I'm
it's
assuming it
not
was
directly underground. I mean, Barnabas said that it was something between a lake and a rift. A wellspring doesn't necessarily have to come from the earth. Its exit point just has to be out of the earth.
Oh, thank you.
Remember, we're dealing with the realms of gods and magic
Right.
here, and
Portals,
something from
yeah.
beyond that. So
I mean,
for all we know,
there might be deposits of it underground. In fact, we're pretty
it's-
sure, given the Drow and the Duergar, there are. We
It's
just
a
don't
million
know where
gold.
that's
in
coming
our
from.
world.
The million gold question is where the wellspring is in our continent.
Right. That's part of the reason. One of the things why I was a little hesitant to pick, because part of me was like, I wonder if there's any legends or stories or anything about anybody coming across it in or around Baronsville specifically. Not
I think
just in the
there
Stormlands.
there would have been stories about it if there had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard bits and pieces, but those.
The dwarves would know, I would think.
I was about to say the Underdark if they've been dealing with it longer. And
Cragveer apparently has, Froseth said.
And nothing of the fact that it's like our world is a jar for this stuff.
Okay. Okay. We're talking ourselves in circles right now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question. Are there stories about Clan Rhymehook's destruction? Because that's the most recent start that I can think of where we know that something
Not-
an outside force.
Not necessarily. Clan Rhymehook, Froseth's home, happened something like 16 years ago. He was very, very small.
Right, but
the Azamar went before that.
Okay.
That's. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that Clan Rhymehook isn't the first on this continent. The Azamar were.
Okay, I was not sure about the
timeline. Theirs were 25 odd years ago. Simply because I was apparently born outside, not as Azamar, as a response to the Scourge Azamar hurting the Protectors and keeping them under house arrest. So, would have had to have been other Dragonborn clans probably would have gone first. You're right about that, but we don't have names for them.
I mean, okay, so perhaps Darwin can look at if there are stories about those things that we do know about, as far as, the Azamar being corrupted and Clan Rhymehook being corrupted. We know of those things, so it might give us more information.
No, I think that's too recent.
It's not even that it's too recent, because there's songs about us. There's only one problem with songs about Clan Rhymehook. Apart from Froseth, nobody survived.
The only other one is Farida, and she was brought back. So.
And I mean, we haven't asked her about what actually happened, but we've got a 10-year-old's view of this? It's not much. We could ask, but he sort of looks at Froseth in I'm not really sure I want to.
Yeah, Darwin's looking over.
I don't want to, but
Froseth will leave that with you because she's your sister.
I think I'll just, for now, for lack, I'll stick with the Southern Lands. Asking about that, it seems to be the starting off point.
I'll see if there's anything in after lunch. I'll see if there's anything in sapient celestial beings. See if there's anything about why there aren't so many Azamar anymore, and I can go from there. That might give us a starting point to start looking at what the purges were like, where they were starting, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Did you tell Fieveled about
Yeah, one more.
She called those Dragonborn Draconians.
I'll look that up too.
That was her suggestion.
Okay. Well, at least I have a research path, and if I need to unlock anything else later, I can do that. It looks at Rylan. I wish I could give my unlock to you, man, but they're non-transferable, I'm afraid.
There's just like Rylan listening to all of this. There's like the gears spinning on several different axes right now.
I know, it's a lot. You came in on us when we were getting right into info dump phase.
It's
Pretty much directly into it, and usually the person who grinds and figures it all out the most, well, the
I'm just
people
waiting for
rather,
the
are
fuck
Alice and Clarity.
Furseth
You
helps.
two are,
So does Barnabas.
yeah. This, Barnabas has a mind like a chessboard.
So we have a dateline for Ava to look at histories, academic histories. So if
The time of the quick bites.
yeah, so that's helpful.
Okay.
Clarity. We need a focus on whatever school of magic deals with teleportation. If for no other reason than we need to find teleportation circles in Baronsphere. We don't have time to trust to our feet at this point. We'll start with that and we'll move on from there. And I mean, I guess keep looking, see if there were any Barnabas, see if there were any other fights that involved a wellspring thing that might give more information. Hazel, Froseth, you know what. Darvin, you've now got a start point. I think we've now all got research paths.
Should I focus on the Settlements as well, do you reckon? Or
predominantly, but keep an eye on Elosa, just to see if there were any initial rumblings. Because, I mean, we can't afford to just buy a 20-year piece.
right.
Last question before lunch finishes off. I know what she was gonna ask about, and I don't think I need to ask what the answer was.
No, he used it immediately, but I also got to find out it was the right decision.
I
What do you
won't.
mean?
Well, okay, I wasn't gonna ask, but somebody else did. So
I mean, if
if
you
you
don't
if you
answer, that's fine.
if you
but-
want to if you want to tell, I'm not gonna stop you.
Well, basically, if I'm not exactly sure how she got this, but if there's anybody who sounds authoritative with this sort of thing, it's her. If I had refused, and they would have basically attacked before the ceremony was complete, before the dues, and it would have been tactical about it. Hazel would have been the first target to prevent resurrections, and then you, and then moving
Why
on.
does he hate me so much?
He apparently hates that you've made this bunch much less chaotic in what we do.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
don't know what prime material plane you're on right now, but if you happen to be watching occasionally,
Well,
I hate that guy so much.
there is a small bit of hope. If there's anyone else who would have any idea on how to, go around this sort of thing, she mentioned Zerial not, but this sort of thing has to be dealt with first.
yeah, because
So-
she can't really be Zeriel until we do.
Right.
Right.
So there was some hope, and she actually let me send a message home.
She does have a habit of pulling out just the right bit of thing for you stoic buggers. I'm glad you had that, at least.
Darwin gets up, walks over to Barnabas, just kind of stands there, looks at Barnabas, and goes, "Do you mind?"
Nah, I could use it.
I make this a group hug situation.
I have a feeling that there's no way that this doesn't, with Hazel around, doesn't turn into a group hug in 3, 2, 1.
Clarity gets up and hugs
I'm
them
just
too.
going to nudge Clarity at it first, and
Yeah.
just wait patiently.
Alice is waiting until everybody else who's doing the group hug does the hug, if for no other reason than once the crowd's cleared a little bit. I just don't want my wings getting smushed because they get involved in the hug, and I can't afford to have these break. And so hug and the wing. So you're basically wrapped in feathers.
Roseth with his size probably waits to be one of the last ones to join too. Just so.
Remy will also join.
I would let the others go first as well.
You can't all be last.
No, but I mean,
Remy will go
If, I see,
for it.
if me and Clarity are hugging, I see Hazel standing to the side. Darwin's just like, "Get over here!" Mortal Kombat, "Get over here!"
I'll happily join in once I know that a couple other people are on. Once I know that at least like one other person, like Clarity, Darwin, probably just shove Ava into it and then pile on.
Anybody paying attention, I don't know if that's possible, but we'll notice that as soon as the hugging starts, Barnabas sort of starts bracing himself, expecting ballistic half-elf. And
Yeah. When she's got her hug in, and probably Froseth's waited until last, Alice sort of puts a hand on top of Ryland's head and gives his hair a very slight ruffle, and just we're sparing you and this kind of thing until you're a bit more comfortable.
Darwin stands up and looks over at Ryland at that, going, "Welcome to the bunch."
Yep. And we're actually a little past that time, so if you all want to circumvent things a little bit, over the next couple of weeks, do send, other than Ryland, because he doesn't really have the access for this, but anybody who's doing group research, talk amongst yourselves, send me a list of questions that you'll be asking, or things you want to hear about within the first week, please, because I'd like another week to write everything. So that will hopefully cut down on the time that we spend just doing the research phase. So hopefully, after the compilation of information, we can start heading back in the direction of Baronsveer and kick some
Dragon butt.
scaly handbag ass.
Yeah.
But for the moment, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.